And you're on with Steven.
Okay. Hey, Steven. It's really awesome to talk to you. I love that shirt, by the way.
Thanks, Mike.
As you can see, I'm a little bit of a horror fan too.
Yeah, you got a good collection going on back there.
Just a little something. I'm so excited. So the movie we're talking about is of course Margaux. Your well, first of all, it's a really awesome movie.
Oh, thanks.
I definitely enjoyed it. And so jumping right in, it was really fun seeing Lochlyn Munro in the film's cold open, and I was kind of wondering like what that scene was like to do, and also was he your first choice as somebody to kind of like open the film with?
Lochlyn was first choice from day one. We shot it. We shot the movie in Vancouver. Lochlyn lives in Vancouver, and me and Lochlyn have been buddies for a while, just through various circles. And we've always talked about doing a movie together. And I called him up and said, "Hey, man, I got a really fun opening piece of a movie that I think you would be great for." He didn't even question. He was like, "I'm in." He showed up. He was a trooper, really great. And I mean, we just destroyed him. So like he had a lot of fun with it. He was fantastic on set. He's just a great guy. And he's just someone the audience, I think, resonates with and knows really well. And he's just one of those guys that, is ingrained in horror.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely that psycho moment of when I saw him in there, I was like, oh, that's, he's going to be the lead. He's
Right.
going to like, I guess I don't want to get too spoilery, but just to say, don't get too attached. Yeah, no, it's great. Now speaking of cast, this has a great ensemble cast, and so I was kind of wondering, they have such a great chemistry together. Did y'all have time to do a little rehearsing or a little like time for them to like spend together prior to filming, or did they
Yeah,
just...
the movie's pretty low budget, so it doesn't give the actors a lot of time to rehearse, unfortunately, in this space, right? And so I made it a point very early on because we casted the movie pretty quickly. Like it was not a hard script to cast. I mean, they really wanted to do it. Everybody, my first choices were all of them, and so they all loved it. So as soon as they were saying yes, I was already getting them together like this with video chat a few weeks before we started the movie. And so we would all hang out, and I'd let them hang out, and I'd kind of bounce off for a little bit. And then they all got there probably about 3 days before, so that did give us a little time to get in the room together. And we did a few table reads and just allowed them to do some hangout sessions. I insisted that they all stay in the same hotels, right? And that way they were able to sort of bond off time with me just on their own. And I sort of encouraged them to hang out as much as possible. And to their credit, they did. I would check their Instagram. They're out at the lake. They're doing this, and they're all hanging out. And so, they really did the work to become a little unit. And you're right. I think it shows on screen. It was not hard to see that.
Oh yeah, totally. Like I really did buy that they were a legit friend group. So that's like definitely kudos to you, the actors. Like it was definitely believable. So out of all the characters in this movie, who do you would say is like the closest to your own personality?
I probably would go with Richard Harmon and his character of Clay because I think he's really out there. He's zany. I think that I can be out there. I don't think I'm as zany as him, but I think that my personality aligns with him in the sense that I'm really someone that likes to have some fun, especially when I'm making movies. And even when I'm hanging out with my family, I really love having fun and enjoying the moment. And that's sort of Clay's character, is really being in the moment, enjoying where he is with the people he's with, and not really too worried about what's happening around him other than what's going on with his group. It's sort of where I align.
Nice. Yeah, definitely is my favorite character. That's probably a given. Like I think him and the AI, which I also wanted just to say I appreciate how sassy the AI is.
Right, right. And it's
Um,
crazy. I was saying, it's crazy that it's Susan Bennett who was the voice of Siri. And right, so she's the voice in our movie. So to hear Siri get sassy, there's
yeah.
something really wild about that, right? And so we would have her saying all kinds of crazy stuff, and she would just have so much fun with it. It was really a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, I think my favorite bit is when they're like first in the house and it seems like she's trying to acclimate to their lingo.
Right.
So yeah, like I love it. Yeah, so now since we're still kind of talking about the cast, are you a fan of like any improv? Was any of the lines sort of
Yeah,
ad-libbed?
I gave them a lot of freedom, especially with a movie like this where, the writers are great, but the writers aren't 19 and 20-year-olds, right? So allowing them to have their own voice and to find that voice with the characters. And we shot the movie chronologically for that purpose. It was to allow them to, feel the character and really move into the horror elements of it. A lot of these movies are shot out of order. So a lot of times you're shooting the ending on day one, which is never fun. So I really stressed to try to shoot this movie chronologically. And that allowed them to find the character and to really understand who they allowed them to sort of do a lot of improving with dialogue, especially Richard's character for Clay. I mean, I think he did the most. Jed, he is not a guy that likes to improv, but he's great at it when I would, tell him to push him and do it more. And, Vanessa and Madison and Phoebe, they're so great at what they do. They were able to really acclimate and just sort of hone in on what their characters and really find a distinct style for each voice. And I think that they did that so well.
Nice. Yeah, again, it comes off like really natural and like it flows really well. So now I'm kind of curious, like what was the ratio of like filming in a practical location and like how much was like a soundstage?
So 90% of it is practical
Mm.
location, physical house, all the exteriors, 90% of the interiors. The only thing we built on a soundstage was their dorm room and the actual chair room, the Zen room of the house, where the actual chair is. That's the only thing we had on a soundstage. So everything else was in this, well, and in one other room, which is the ceiling room. But the ceiling room and the house and the chair room are actually the same room. We just reconfigured it. Tyler Heron, our production designer, was amazing at figuring out on a budget this small, where normally you don't build things. He was really fantastic at figuring out how we could do that on this budget and make it look great and really match the house that we found, which was gorgeous. And I, stressed that immensely on how do we, keep this house intact and not destroy it, right? And so Tyler was fantastic at figuring out ways to put up fake walls in the house or floors or whatever it was to really allow us to do the destruction we needed to do.
Nice. Now, this movie's obviously very visual heavy, and I was kind of curious, like, was a lot of that storyboarded beforehand to kind of get a sense of like what was going to happen or what like FX you guys needed?
Yeah, we did a lot of storyboards for that. I like visual storyboards where I do things like shot deck and I go and I find specific shots from all movies that I love and really point out like this is what this scene should feel like with something like that. And I think looking at older films that people recognize, they really sort of get it even faster than storyboards.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, a lot of the sort of the visual effects elements of the movie, we storyboarded pretty heavily with our visual effects team. And, they're really great on set. And then Todd Masters, who did all our practical effects, was fantastic at really showing us how to marry the two because that was a big deal for me to be practical for as much as we possibly could. And so a lot of it is practical. Then we had to do CG on top of that to clean it up or help it, work, especially with the arms, which I wanted to be practical. It's just it was almost impossible to get them to be practical. And we had 3D printed them. They look awesome. And then, you get there and they don't work. And it's like there's all kinds of crazy stuff. But, at the end of the day, I think there was a fun mix that the audience will appreciate.
Yeah. And again, I think I noted this in my review, but like I really do love the mix of practical and CGI. Like I think that there's a good sort of balance between the two. Like if it's done right, which I think it is here, it looks pretty nice.
Thanks.
Yeah. Now you're obviously a big horror fan. I was kind of wondering, like, little homages that fans can look for little.
Definitely. I think there's a few Easter eggs in there that I won't give away, but I think the movies that I looked at when making this were Evil Dead and Cabin in the Woods. And there's a few references from those movies in there. But specifically Evil Dead for sure, because I just grew up with that movie being one of my favorite movies. And it, taking place all in a house, it was mesmerizing to me that you were able to stay engaged, And so that was something that I really looked at when making this film is how do I keep the audience engaged and have fun when we're in this singular location. So there's definitely some fun winks, I think, to the movie in there. And that's, something that, we as filmmakers, I love to do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. No, it's funny because like at the beginning with Clay's character and the bong, I was thinking of like Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely, I do get a lot of Evil Dead vibes, which is awesome. Kind of wrapping up, I see from IMDb that you have a bunch of movies slated coming up. So can you think about those?
Yeah, we just finished a movie with Frank Grillo in Puerto Rico. It's a werewolf movie, and it's basically like a werewolf pandemic. Everyone that's in this moonlight is wolfing out, and Frank is on a mission to get home. And so he's got to go through downtown Miami to get there. And so it's a really crazy, fun, Predator-esque with werewolves type film, and even more practical than Margaux was, in the sense that like these creatures are real, they're on screen. We built them from the ground up. It's just one of those things that it's a lot of fun on screen right now. We're in the edit, so I'm excited about that one. That one's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice. Now, best werewolf movie and most underrated werewolf movie.
I mean, my favorite werewolf movie is Dog Soldiers. I love Dog Soldiers. And I think probably the most underrated one, I mean, that I don't see a lot of people talking about all the time, is Ginger Snaps. I love Ginger Snaps. I can go back to American Werewolf in London and all that stuff. It's great, but Dog Soldiers did something for me when I was watching it at an earlier age that, I don't know, I really gravitated to. And then, Ginger Snaps just gave it a totally different vibe. And I thought that it was just so well done. So to try to keep up with those movies was a difficult task.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that on both fronts. But like, I definitely think like Dog Soldiers I'm kind of glad that it's got a new 4K transfer. It feels like people are maybe rediscovering that movie.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I didn't want to take up too much of your time, but I really appreciate. Awesome. This was a blast. The movie comes out the 9th.
September. Yep.
Okay. My mind's not completely going.
Thanks,
yeah.
Mike.
So, thank you so much.